Okay, let's talk about clutch jobs on Mazda Proteges, MX-6s, anything with the FS engine and a G series trans, probably F series trans too, a lot of this stuff will apply. But I've done over 2 dozen clutch jobs on these cars, and I want to share with you some things that I've found over the years of doing these. Let's start out with the parts that you choose to put in these cars. These cars are cheap, yes, and they've lasted for a long time, but it's really a sum of its parts. It's put together with OEM quality, like made in Japan parts that have lasted 20 years. And if you like your car, if you love your car and you want it to last, another, 20 years, potentially, you want to use high quality parts. Case in point, we'll start with the OEM rear-made seal. These are made by NOK, and they're made in Japan seals. You really, really want to stay away from anything made by Felpro for these cars, except for maybe intake and exhaust manifold gaskets. Stay away from their valve covers, and especially their cam and crank seals. They're just total garbage. And these, I think, I'll put the part numbers all in the description, but these end in a 399. But yeah, these last a long time, and you want to make sure, these don't leak if you get the correct seal. And while you're in there doing the rear main seal, you also really need to pay attention to the bolt holes on the crankshaft that the flywheel bolts go into. You want to take like a microfiber cloth, get some brake cleaner on it, and then clean out the threads as best as you can on the crankshaft side. Wire wheel the flywheel bolts so that there's no Loctite on them. Clean those with brake cleaner, and then apply a little bit of red Loctite on the threads, on the crankshaft, on the inside, and then on the actual bolts themselves. Torque that to 80 foot-pounds, you should be good to go. Now, the clutch kits that I like to use are the Exedy KMZ08. I don't know why Exedy doesn't list these as for the Protege, but the pressure plates are identical to the OEM provided on these from new, and the friction disc is a slightly different design, but very similar to stock. These clutches ride great. They are very forgiving. It's a light pressure plate, and so this is what I go with. Even for you guys that are boosted, if you're running a turbo setup with these, this clutch will hold about maybe 220 wheel horsepower, which is great because it's a light feeling clutch. It's actually lighter than the provided Mazdaspeed factory clutch, but still holds the same power. So, Exedy KMZ08. One of the problems that people run into when doing these clutch jobs is they use this tool to hold the friction disc, assemble it all, and then they go to try to put on the trans, and you just have issues with trying to get the trans to line up and bolt in. And a lot of that has to do with alignment of the clutch fork, or sorry, the clutch friction disc. So you look in here, on the right side is the actual friction part of the flex plate, and next to it is the clutch. And so what you can do is come in here and feel the lip, the difference between where the clutch is sitting relative to the flex plate. You want to do that all the way around. Well, you want to have all the bolts hand tight. Obviously this one's already been torqued down, but hand tight. You're gonna feel all in here and make sure the gaps are all even, and so you're kind of giving yourself the best chance of this thing actually being centered. With it loose, it has actually quite a bit of play when you're just putting that in. So that alignment is pretty critical. Of course, you want to make sure all that is super clean. Brake clean the friction surfaces on the flywheel and the clutch plate. And yeah, one more thing I want to mention, well, 2 more things. I've been noticing that the clutch fork pivots on these cars, this little guy, chode looking thing, are breaking from the factory. Like the original factory ones are snapping. And so we have weird issues where the car, won't get in the gear, or it'll shift fine when the engine's off and then it won't shift right. And that's, with the engine running, that's usually because you have a sheared pin. So anytime I'm doing a clutch job, I change the pivot, as well as double check that this hasn't worn through on the actual clutch fork itself. And then, worth mentioning, the Exedy clutch kits come with a Koyo made in Japan throwout bearing, but I do not recommend using this. I recommend you going with the OEM Koyo, again, another Koyo design, because I've had a lot of these make a noise right out of the box. And that's a bummer, because you got to take this all apart to swap out, the throwout bearing. And so this is the most updated design. Here's the part number for you. They look almost identical, except They have ribs on the inner collar part for oil retention. Like if I push this back, you can see there's some grease there. So it's ribbed for your pleasure and for retaining grease. They are using this clutch throwout bearing all the way up to 2025. I mean, they're using it with the current Mazda 3s, the MX-5s, all that stuff. So there's no reason not to get this. It's still well into production. This is the most recent design, and I've never had a single issue with them making noise out the box, which is great. So I think that's it for clutch jobs. Take your time on it. Use good quality gear oil. I use Amsoil GL4 75 W90. I don't use severe gear. You could use it if you're in a pinch, but the GL5 rated stuff will slowly eat the brass synchronizers in the transmission. Still a fine fluid to use, but yeah, if you can, try to find GL4. It's better for the synchros. Other than that, good luck with it. Take your time, you know, torque everything to spec. I think we're looking at like 80 for the flywheel, and I want to say 16 or 20. And I also use Loctite on these guys. 16 or 20 on the flex plate bolts. But yeah, good luck with it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and happy wrenching.